A new front has opened in the global economic landscape. President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping 25% tariff on a wide range of Indian goods, escalating trade tensions between the world's two largest democracies. The official reason: India's continued importation of Russian crude oil, which the White House claims helps fund Russia's military actions. This move strains a relationship nurtured for decades, raising questions about the future of this critical partnership. The timing is delicate, with the world already facing economic uncertainty and shifting alliances. For the US, it's a bold use of economic leverage to enforce foreign policy. For India, it's a challenge to its sovereign right to make economic decisions. The stakes are high for both nations and the global order. This is about more than oil and tariffs. It's about the principles of international relations in the 21st century. Can one nation use trade as a weapon to dictate another's energy policy? The Trump administration believes so. Indian officials argue their energy security is non-negotiable, pointing out that other countries have also traded with Russia. As of August 7, 2025, the full impact is unclear, but businesses and diplomats are scrambling to respond. One thing is certain: this is a pivotal moment that will define the future of US-India relations. The real story is just beginning to unfold. President Trump's executive order imposes a blanket 25% tariff on a strategic list of Indian goods, citing national security. The order claims India's Russian oil purchases undermine sanctions and global stability, giving exporters and importers just 30 days to comply. Targeted goods include textiles, apparel, gems, jewelry, machinery, auto parts, and agricultural products, industries employing millions in India. Pharmaceuticals are notably spared, signaling a calculated move to avoid disrupting the US healthcare system. The order allows for expansion of the tariff list if India doesn't change its oil policy, creating ongoing uncertainty. The legal basis: Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, previously used for steel and aluminum tariffs. By linking Indian exports to the funding of a foreign conflict, the White House frames these goods as a threat to US security interests. The message is clear: economic ties are now tools of foreign policy. To understand the conflict, look at India's energy decisions since 2022. Before the Ukraine war, Russia supplied less than 2% of India's oil. Now it's over a third, thanks to steep discounts. India, the world's third-largest oil importer, relies on imports for over 85% of its needs, making it vulnerable to price swings. Affordable fuel is a top priority for India's government. High prices mean inflation, slower growth, and unrest. Discounted Russian oil has cushioned India's economy, while providing Russia with vital revenue to withstand Western sanctions. From the West's perspective, India's purchases undermine efforts to isolate Moscow. Indian officials defend their position as pragmatic. A developing country can't afford premium prices and must buy from the cheapest supplier. Foreign Minister Jaishankar insists India's primary obligation is to its people, noting that European nations also bought Russian energy. For India, securing affordable energy is a developmental imperative, not just an economic choice. The arrangement has helped millions escape poverty and powered growth. The US sees this as counteracting its pressure campaign on Russia. India sees it as survival. The clash is not just about oil, but about whose priorities take precedence. Both sides are digging in, with no easy compromise in sight. The world is watching. President Trump's tariff blends America First economics with hardline geopolitics. The administration frames India's oil trade as morally unacceptable, arguing it funds a conflict threatening global security. The tariff is a tool to force alignment with US foreign policy. You're either with us or against us. Economic nationalism is at play. Trump has long criticized the US trade deficit with India. The tariff punishes India for Russian ties and aims to protect American industries by making Indian goods pricier. The legal justification is national security, broadly interpreted to include economic activities supporting adversaries. Critics call this a stretch, but it lets the White House bypass Congress. Politically, Trump signals strength to his base, showing he'll challenge even partners to put America first. The move appeals to voters who feel the US has been taken advantage of globally. The tariff is as much a message to Americans as to India. It's a high-stakes gamble. US-India trade surpassed $200 billion in 2024, but the US runs a persistent trade deficit, about $38 billion last year. Trump cites this imbalance as unfair, fueling calls for correction. India's exports to the US are diverse: pharmaceuticals, diamonds, machinery, electronics, and especially labor-intensive sectors like textiles and agriculture. The new tariffs hit industries that employ millions in India, threatening livelihoods and economic stability. Trade friction isn't new. US officials have long criticized India's protectionist policies and high tariffs on American goods. The new tariff is seen by some as payback for years of Indian trade barriers. Both countries have much to lose. India relies on the US as a key market, while the US depends on Indian goods and a growing consumer base. A trade war would hurt both economies, disrupting a mutually beneficial relationship. The tariff turns partnership into conflict, with billions at stake. The future of this vital trade relationship hangs in the balance. India's response to the tariff has been swift and sharp. Officials call the move unilateral and unacceptable, arguing energy imports are a necessity, not a political statement. The accusation of double standards is central. India notes that Western nations also bought Russian energy after the Ukraine conflict began. Indian leaders argue it's unjust to expect a developing nation to bear the economic burden of a distant conflict. The tariffs target industries that are the backbone of Indian employment, seen as a deliberate attempt to harm vulnerable workers. Many in India believe the US is using geopolitics as a pretext to address its trade deficit. Calls for retaliatory tariffs on American goods are growing. The dispute has sparked debate about the reliability of the US as a partner and the risks of overdependence. India's pursuit of strategic autonomy is being put to the test. The trade dispute unfolds on a complex geopolitical chessboard. Once warm, the relationship between Trump and Modi is now strained by clashing nationalist agendas. The tariff is a turning point, turning personal chemistry into a political standoff. China is watching closely. A rift between the US and India is a strategic gift to Beijing. The Quad alliance is weakened, and China could position itself as a more reliable partner for India. The dispute also forces India to reconsider its ties with Russia, a historic defense partner. Ironically, the US tariff may push India closer to Moscow, reinforcing the very behavior Washington opposes. The US wants India as a counterweight to China, but won't tolerate its independent Russia ties, putting India in a bind. The tariff risks isolating the US from a key ally, fracturing the coalition of democracies. Instead of isolating Russia, the US could end up isolating itself. The geopolitical stakes are enormous. The tariff's economic impact will ripple across both nations. Indian exporters face devastating costs. Many small and medium businesses risk closure, threatening millions of jobs. American consumers will see higher prices on everyday goods, from t-shirts to seafood. Retailers and importers must choose between absorbing costs or passing them on, adding to inflation. Global supply chains built over decades will be disrupted. Finding new suppliers is costly and slow. Short-term shortages and logistical headaches are likely. The uncertainty could slow investment and growth in both countries. If India shifts away from Russian oil, global prices could rise. If not, a two-tiered oil market may deepen. The dispute, born of oil, could make energy more expensive and markets more volatile worldwide. The cost of conflict will be paid by families and businesses on both sides. The world economy is caught in the crossfire. The path forward is risky and uncertain for both nations. The greatest danger eroding a critical partnership and pushing India toward America's rivals. A short-term policy win could mean a long-term strategic loss for the US in the Indo-Pacific. Resolution will require quiet diplomacy and face-saving compromises. India might gradually reduce Russian oil imports. The US could suspend tariffs in return. Alternatively, India could make trade concessions, letting both sides claim victory. But escalation is possible. Retaliatory tariffs could trigger a damaging trade war. Two of the world's largest democracies locked in conflict would only benefit their adversaries. The choices made now will shape the future of US-India relations and the global balance of power. This is a defining moment with consequences that will echo for decades.